What's up, guys? No regret here. Coming at you with another vlog. Today we are going to be going over my life in Korea. So normally I'm behind the scenes a bit more. I'm more talkative and not really the focus of the vlog itself. Mainly because I'm not that good at achieving something in the vlogs. Normally I'm following the people that are trying to achieve something, and I get to contribute my own sense of personality and entertainment to their accomplishments. For example, Casper Cup, GSL qualifiers, GSL runs with Sasha and everybody else. But this vlog is going to be more about me and my year in Korea. So I'm going to start with my arrival. And the arrival process was very difficult for me because it wasn't a very easy decision for me. I had to weigh my future and other things and my income because as a StarCraft player, you don't actually have that much money coming into making a decision like this going full time. Leading up to this event, I was a full-time worker, but I streamed a lot. And the streaming was actually how I made my money because I was an apprentice from my parents' company. I didn't actually make that much money because I agreed to kind of take the free rent, free food, blah, 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 stuff like that. And I wasn't getting paid a full-time salary. And it was mostly to help out my parents, help out my father. Not really a greedy thing where I could take the money because I was mostly a streamer. I also got a lot of lenience because of that. Like, he wouldn't treat me as an employee, but rather his son. And that allowed me to practice a lot more. So when I had tournaments, he would let me, practice for them and play for them and stuff like that. But eventually I had to decide if I wanted this to be my future, if I wanted to be HVAC technician, drop StarCraft and take a full-time salary, which would limit me completely. I would have to go to work every day, same time every day, and I would have to finish every day, same time every day. And HVAC work is not easy. It's quite difficult. But I wanted to go out with more of my initial goals achieved. I felt like I was working towards something and I didn't want to just abandon that. And I felt like I would have been abandoning it if I had gone into the workforce right away. So I wanted to make this step to Korea. To reach out, it was actually not as difficult as I thought to get here, but I don't think is as easy as it is now because of what we've accomplished in Korea now. When I initially wanted to come here, I had to contact Huck, who is my personal friend because I'm a Canadian StarCraft player and the scene's pretty small. We have good players and small scene. And he helped me get here. He reached out to Choya, and Choya allowed me to come for a small amount of money. It was actually a really good deal. I'm going to say the money because it doesn't matter. We paid $500 a month and it covered my rent and my food. It was actually a really good deal. So I calculated that into the amount of money I saved streaming to kind of be allowed to stay here for 4 months, including my flight, which was $1,000 at the time. So I was gambling away all of my savings, essentially. But it wasn't really a gamble to me, but more as a start to my future. Because this was the deciding point on if I was going to contribute to my esports dream or go into the workforce. Either way, I was going out with a bang. Initially, I wanted to be the best StarCraft player, as everybody does at some point. But my view on StarCraft changed quite a bit with my experiences in Korea. So I'm going to start with my arrival. I arrived in Korea at maybe 4 p.m. Korean time, which was after a 15 or 16 hour long flight. And I slept nothing. I didn't sleep at all on the flight. Unfortunately, I don't have the ability to sleep on flights like some people do these days. But I was met by Sasha, or Scarlett, who was another Canadian StarCraft player who I briefly met before coming to Korea, and True, who was my teammate at the time, who is Korean, so he's very helpful for him to come and show me the way. I arrived in Korea with no knowledge of the Korean language or Korean culture or anything. Just, I was coming. I'm coming, I was like, fuck it, I'll learn it. I'll do it. No Google, nothing. Arrive in Incheon airport. I'm like, shit, where do I go? But fortunately, I have Sasha and True, so they helped me out quite a bit. Even the MVP house, I could show you guys my logs, but They didn't tell me anything. They didn't tell me the location or anything. They're just like, yeah, come this day. And then I was like, okay, I'll come that day. Truce took me to the MVP house with Sasha's help, and I met up with some of the first players I will be living with. The first two players I met in the lobby of the apartment complex at MVP. I met Pet and I met Departure, which are both pretty shy people, honestly. Pet's pretty shy. But the first thing I did, I remember, was I go for a handshake with Pet, and he just looks at me like, just complete blank face, and then he goes for the handshake, like, oh yeah, that's what Americans do. Funny story about Pet while we're on him. I didn't say one word to Pet for 4 months. I was in MVP house, and I just completely assumed he didn't know English at all. Because he never talked to me, and I never talked to him. Even though we were sitting close to each other, I never talked to Pet. He was the only member in the house. I talked to everyone else. Didn't talk to Pet. Because of some joke. I think Ryung joked that he didn't know any English, so I took that seriously. And it wasn't that I was awkward or anything. He was out a lot, and I just didn't really talk to him. And then as soon as he gets out, we have a conversation in English. I'm like, what the fuck? We lived with each other for 4 months. And I didn't know he spoke English at all. He was like, hey, Jake, like, how are you? It was actually, we're gonna cut it up a bit. It was actually in Twitch chat. I learned he spoke English. I went to his stream. I'm like, fuck it. Why not? I'll watch Pet's stream. And he's speaking English to the viewers in chat. I'm like, what the fuck? Pet, you didn't speak English to me for 4 months, dog, and we live right next to each other. And he's like, Jake, I knew English all along. You could have talked to me. I was like, dude, this is your job. You're supposed to talk to me. I'm the foreigner here, okay? Talk to me. But, yeah, that was a funny story about Pet. Moving on, away from Pet, because he's a cuck. I'm sorry for getting emotional there. But overall, the Korean people and Korean players were super nice. I thought there would be a lot more kind of like a cultural gap between us, but they were very understanding, and they very much wanted me to be a part of their culture, rather than kind of push me away and be like, oh yeah, he's the white guy. Let's put him in the corner desk, not talk to him, for the period he was there. But I settled in quite well. And I remember at first I was sitting next to Seed, who is actually living like right next to us now. But I was staying with Seed, and he would look over at me and he would say things like, good job, when I won games. And I don't know why, but it was very satisfying to me. And it kind of made me feel more a part of the team, that being MVP at the time. I felt like I was a part of it even though I was just staying at their house. But this leads me up to the qualifier. The qualifier was in the first week of my stay in Korea. And I wasn't that nervous. I wasn't really expecting too much. I was just going to participate because it was one of the goals I wanted to achieve while in Korea was participate in GSL. Doesn't mean I have to qualify. I just wanted to be there. I wanted to see how it was for the Koreans to be qualifying for their biggest tournament. So I did that, and I did way better than I expected. Firstly, it was divided in 2 groups, and I had no idea how any of this worked. I wasn't even in, if I sign up today, I get an email, even in English, that explains a lot of these things. But I signed up through Choya because I had no idea what I'm doing, so I got no information at all. I wasn't given any information. They're just like, here, get in the MVP shuttle. And I was like, okay, we'll get in. And I was driven to the MVP, or the GSL studio rather, which was in some city. I had no idea where I was going because it was my first week in Korea. Obviously now I know a lot more about geography in Korea, but I had no idea where I was going. And they bring me in, and I'm with the MVP team awkwardly, like just all these MVP jerseys and MVP backpacks, and there's just a white kid following them. But I followed him, and they sat me down in a seat with a label, like a numbered label. I got my bracket out. I remember the bracket wasn't that difficult. I was someone like Dragon first round, and he didn't even show up, which was surprising. I was actually scared of Dragon for a little bit. I don't know why, but I figured if anyone knew who I was, it would be Dragon because he played a lot on NA ladder. So I was a bit worried because I knew the other Koreans would have no idea of my reputation. And my reputation was the one thing that was the worst about my career, is that everyone knows I like the Zerglings. The Zerglings. But Dragon knew, and he didn't show up, so I was like, okay, I guess that's a free win. And then I had to play, I don't remember the exact bracket, but somebody a lot worse. It was like Stats, I want to say Stats. Could have been somebody else. And because of my dragon bye, I was actually in the round that allows you to get the lower bracket. If you lose first round, you don't get a lower bracket. But I got a bye to the lower bracket area, so it was okay if I lost to stats. I lose stats 2-1 with Sasha, who taught me this really great Ling proxy hatch pressure, where you build a hatchery in their base, build 3 spine crawlers, or it's outside their base, and you move them in, you kill walls, and you run Lings in, and just a light pressure. You go into a macro game later, get some broodlords, the jam. But stats dies to the pressure, and KT coach is watching, and I feel pretty good. But I get crushed the next 2 games, unfortunately. KT coach is like, get your shit together. You're losing to a white guy. I mean, come on. And he gets his shit together. He defeats me. And I go to lower bracket. I'm feeling pretty good still. Like I took the game off Stats, and Stats was a really well-known Korean at the time. Obviously, he's really good. But the lower bracket was pretty easy. And then I played Stats again. I was like, how? How could I possibly play Stats again? But he gets knocked out by... I know it was a Terran player. I'm sorry, this is really hard to remember because this was a year ago. I don't remember the Terran player he lost to. Yeah, I played Stats again. I lose again, unfortunately. But because this was the final round, we got placed into it was a wild card qualifier for some reason in the GSL. I don't know why. Someone didn't show up, I guess, for the main seed. Oh, rest in peace, Life. Life didn't show up. So we had to play a wildcard qualifier, and both me and Sasha qualified for the wildcard qualifier. And it went really late, but Sasha gets knocked out by a player named Zaun, I believe. Was it Zaun? Yeah. And I go pretty far, but I get a luckier bracket than Sasha. Zaun was actually like a KT or amateur, so we haven't heard from him very much, but he was actually really good at the game. Good at playing Protoss, at least. We get to my knockout match, which was actually a housemate in MVP who I was sitting next to, but it wasn't Seed, it was Blaze. Because I was sitting with the Protosses, I don't know why, at first. I guess they didn't know my race. They don't do their research. But I was sitting next to Blaze, and I was actually a bit worried because I saw the way Blaze played, and he was really aggressive. And I was just starting to switch more into like a 3-base Zerg and in ZVP. Like I did a little bit in Heart of the Swarm, but it's just, I wasn't comfortable with my macro game in ZVP with aggression. Because I don't know when I'm supposed to cut drones and stuff like that. And of course I get Protossed. Very hard. But I wasn't disappointed in losing to my new housemate. I was actually happy that I made it as far as I did. I felt a sense of accomplishment that I made it as far as I did. And Blaze lost to MC in that round, and MC qualified for the GSL. And I remember at the time, everyone was freaking out about how MC qualified for GSL because he hadn't been around for so long. And then a little bit later, he joined CJ Entis. After GSL qualifiers, SSL was very shortly after. And another similar story with SSL happened, where me, along with Sasha, because me and Sasha were started to become better friends at this point. I really hadn't talked to Sasha at all until this point. We talked once at a Canadian LAN, and this is kind of where she volunteered to meet me at the airport as help because I don't know what I'm doing here, and she obviously does. I talked more with Sasha on my weeks in StarCraft, and we kind of did it as a team, SSL and GSL. And I remember SSL, Sasha made it a lot farther than I did. I got knocked out by, I don't know.
You beat Armani and Sulky.
Oh, I beat Armani, Sulky, and then I lost to, oh, I remember. I lost to Trust, and I lost to Deer, I want to say. But I'm not 100% sure in the order. It was definitely 2 Protosses. But I did feel really good about my ZVZs. Beating Armani was, I felt so bad, but the games were so good. It wasn't like my standard, like, oh, I cheesed him, he didn't see it coming. It was really back and forth Ling Bane aggression, and there was like a lot of counterattacks, and the games were very solid. I won the first game with like a hatch gas pool, 3rd hatch, Ling Bane timing. And then the second game I went 13-12, and it was a 2-0. 13-12 really caught him off guard, just won straight up. Sulky was actually a lot harder. Sulky was a 2-1 victory, and they were really close games. I remember I was down to 6 workers and he was down to 4 at the end of the game. And I had like 6 lings more than him, and I won the ling fight, just barely won the ling fight because we had ling bane too, so we was trading out. And I remember winning that game and my heart was just pounding because I had never really played in tournaments that challenged me so much. Like I played in NA lands and it was always one-sided. Like I would play someone much better than me or I'd play many people much worse than me. But these games were so close. It was insane. Obviously we still get to that point, right? I still lose 2-0 to some of these players because they're really good. But me and Sulky were so close. It was so heart-throbbing. I remember winning that game was like one of my biggest moments for like my feeling, taking out Sulky like that. And I remember tweeting like all caps, like I just beat Sulky, and then like I got 100 retweets or something, or 100 favorites. It was great. And this was my first, I felt, major win in anything, because these are Koreans, you know, like we always put them on a huge pedestal over us. So it felt so much more satisfying than I feel now when I beat a Korean. But yeah, going forward, and I lose to Deer or Trust, and they're both really good. They both deserved the win over me. I remember Sasha was still playing against somebody. It was before Bomber. I think it was Rookie Sasha played against. And she was playing these games, and they were much more crisp than mine. Like they were more my games were a lot different than hers. She was like solid all around, you know, like she won because she was the better player, whereas I won because I had the better Ling Bane control, which is not necessarily the same thing as being a better player. That's later why I would lose the ZVPs, because I'm not that great. Her next opponent was Bomber. And Bomber, I didn't think was as good as Rookie, honestly. This was Bomber's descent out of StarCraft at this point. Like, he's one of those Koreans who was huge and then starting to decease. But we talked a lot about strategy during those games, and I really felt she could have won them, but she ended up like, I don't know if it was nerves or what. She had strategies planned, she changed them. They were really close games still though, really, really close games, and she lost. But was really a different dynamic to have someone to talk to that I felt was on my side and I was on their side. I never had this in any other tournaments. Like me and my friends go to LANs, but it's just not the same. Especially if they're StarCraft viewers, they just don't understand. Whereas me and Sasha went to the GSL qualifier as foreigners. So we were like, I guess, a team. And she helped me a lot and I helped her a lot. And it was definitely a different aspect that really enhanced my StarCraft experiences. It really made me think differently, and it really made me aspire differently too. As I started to aspire more towards being supportive for other players, not that I actually like helping, but I wanted to be there for people. So eventually my MVP run is starting to end. Really no tournaments. One thing I didn't expect was the amount Koreans actually play and the way they practice. As a foreigner, a foreign viewer too, like just a foreign StarCraft player, I always expected them to be playing 24 hours all the time, you know, like just playing. If they wake up, they play. They go to sleep. You know, that's all. Nothing. But it was very different. It was a very different mood than I thought it would be. After the GSL and SSL, the house mood was just different. And the players who qualified would play, and the players who didn't would just kind of stop. And it was I felt demotivating to me as well. Not that I actually stopped playing, but I could see how affected the Koreans who didn't qualify were. And it made me a lot sadder than I thought it would. For example, before GSL and SSL, 7 people, 8 people, 9 people practicing all day, every day. And I thought that's how it was going to be the whole time. And as soon as after GSL, SSL, people just packed up their stuff and left. Completely left. Keyboards, mouse, they're gone. And they would leave for 2 weeks because I guess it's their break and they don't really have any tournaments to play for. And the house mood was just different. There was 3 people practicing who actually qualified, and then everyone else was gone, and it was just me there. And the house was just, it felt empty. I don't know. There wasn't as much happiness and cheering, and just a different vibe, I guess. Later on, that would be different because it was a team thing and not an individual thing later on, as I was able to witness the last pro league from an MVP team house, where it was more of a team depression and a team happy thing, where if they lost their matches, they would be like kind of a depression, like the people would be playing other things, not really doing anything, very quiet. But if they won, they would party, you know, chicken and soju and just go crazy, you know. It was their time. I remember how much they would be so happy that they would win individual games, and they would talk about it all day, about just their matches. I didn't know what they were saying because I don't speak Korean, but they would go over replays with each other. It made me view StarCraft differently, really, really differently. And at some point during my stay in MVP, I kind of switched my mentality. Obviously, going into it, you can't expect to be the best player in the world. It's just unrealistic. But I knew I wanted to be a part of Korea. I knew I wanted to be a part of Korean esports. Just the whole environment was so different than my environment at home. It was no longer a question if I wanted to do esports, if I wanted to pursue a real job. It was, how can I stay in Korea? How can I pursue esports? And the answer to that isn't really something that is so easy to figure out. Like, you can't just say I'm going to be a pro gamer. You can't just say I'm going to be a caster. You can't just say I'm going to be a vlogger, you know. You have to find it. As I end my MVP story, because I departed from MVP, everyone was very kind, very nice to me. They wanted to genuinely see me succeed. I could tell that. There was that feeling that they wanted me to do well. And I still get that feeling with my friends and with my family, essentially, my StarCraft family, where if I succeed, I feel like they get some sense of success as well. And I feel the same way. Like when Major and Sasha qualify for GSL, even though I had nothing to do with it, I feel success. I'm happy that somebody from our house did something and I qualified for something they've been aspiring to do. But moving away from MVP, I was missing my flight home. It was my option to go home, but I missed it on purpose. I remember it was hard to decide if I wanted to continue to stay here or not, but I decided I would miss my flight. And me and Sasha had been talking a lot, and we decided that it would be better for us to get an apartment in Korea than have her living in their office tel, and I would be doing the same thing essentially. It's actually cheaper for us to live together. Rent is cheaper, and it's actually a much larger place. It's just better overall. And we figured we could house one more player with us, maybe. With our house, it was a 2-bedroom, one bathroom apartment where we felt we had enough room for a third, and we could kind of offer that spot to someone else who is aspiring to come to Korea as well. And that spot happened to go to Alex, who is a big role in this. So Neeb is actually the reason why I started becoming a vlogger. I felt a lot of potential in Alex. This was kind of before he never had won a major tournament ever. But he really changed my view. And at the same time Sasha had left, she had some passport things to do. So she had gone back to Canada. And it was just me and Alex for 3 months or 2 months. And I never had seen my StarCraft career or my mentality change harder than I have ever at that time. I went from playing every day, practicing 8 hours, to kind of playing less, which is surprising. You would think that. But it's because Alex would practice 14 hours a day, every single day. And I thought, if Alex is practicing 14 hours a day every single day, how the hell am I going to be as good as him, you know? And I took a backstage to Alex. It's not only Alex, it's also me. At this point, this is when I'm gone alone. You know, I've decided to go esports. And I don't have that much money anymore. So I need to switch from being a pro gamer to something that I can actually use to support me. So I'm streaming a bit more at this point. I'm trying to branch out connections to casting and stuff like that. And I'm doing that. I'm actually doing really well. Nerd Street's covering my, help. They're helping me a lot at this point. They're getting me casting jobs. They're paying a salary. They're just very supportive overall. They're pushing me to do well. They genuinely want me to do well, because if I do well, they do well. But that's not the only reason. I can sense a feeling of family with them. So they help me a lot. And so anyways, me and Alex have started our journeys together. And I have met Alex once before this at, what's that tournament? Kings of the North. And he's very quiet, I can tell. We have almost conflicting personalities to the farthest extent where I like talking and memeing and all this, like I'm just very out there, and Alex is very quiet. I don't know much about Alex. Even when I'm talking to him, he's very short answers and just you can tell he's not really talkative. But when I move in with Alex, I expected as much. I expected not to be talking to him. Expected he'd come, he'd practice, I would support him, he would leave. I would support him in like, hey Alex, you want to go get some goguma, which is sweet potato. Stuff like that. But Alex actually turns out to be a really good friend. Someone I can talk to a lot, someone who is there for me as more than I thought he would be. For example, I actually started running into money problems a little bit. And Sasha also helped me a lot, where I didn't have enough money to buy food all the time. So they would help me buy food. And I never really asked for money from people, and I still didn't really feel comfortable asking money from Sasha or Alex. They never really gave me money directly, but I know they would genuinely offer. It wasn't like a malicious thing, but it helped me because I would buy ramen and stuff every day because I couldn't eat. And eventually I started making more money with streaming and Nerd Street and other things, where at the same time this temporary house was starting to shift into more of a permanent thing. And the temporary house was when I had the least amount of money because I was paying rent, I was paying food, and at the same time I was transitioning away from Psystorm into a different team. So this was the lowest point I have ever had, with money. My bank account was like $0, essentially. No money. I've never been like that before. I was very fortunate with my upbringing. I had family that supported me. If I ran out of money, they would pay for me genuinely, always. But this was the first experience I ever had where I couldn't afford to pay for food. And it was scary. I didn't know what I was supposed to do. I didn't ask my parents. They never even knew that I was low on money like that. And I'm guarantee you they would have sent me money, 100%. So Alex really stepped up to the plate, helped me with my money problems, I guess you could say it, by paying for some of my food. And I never really got to thank Alex or pay him back, but he's coming soon, so hopefully I can. But with Alex, my plans changed a lot, and I felt myself more into the content creator spot because I felt someone like Alex really doesn't have the exposure he deserves as a player. Not because he's not good enough. Obviously, he gets the exposure on the streams and stuff, but you really don't hear the story of Alex. You don't really hear the story of a player coming here and doing so well, And I wanted to create the content to kind of continue the storyline. And with Alex, that became the Casper Cup. And I actually have something, if you can follow me. Oh, yeah. I have something. Alex won this, genuinely won this. This is the Casper Cup, which we definitely did not expect Alex to win. And we can go back to me sitting in a sec. But yeah, Alex definitely did better than any of us had anticipated. I expected it to be around a 16 finish. We'd have some cool vlogs of backstage stuff that no one would have. But Alex did more than expected. His 14 hours a day, every day practice paid off. And I knew he was good. I knew Alex was good. I would sit behind him and he would beat people like in practice like Ryung and other people I had met because I had given him some contacts, and he has also made his own. But at the time, he was beating people like Ryung and Gumiho and other people. But yeah, I remember the interactions with Alex really changed my views. And I really enjoyed following Alex and being the person to kind of put him in the spotlight. I'm not saying I did that, but we gave him a story. Like, I felt the coverage was really something we could be proud of, as me and my camera person could have been proud of. Documenting it for the future, for his future. We can go back on his achievements. Whereas if we didn't do it, we would have his gameplay and his stream, but no real story behind it. So I was really happy I could do that. I was really happy that we could film Alex and his experience and all of that. I don't know, I just really liked it. And that kind of brought us into the vlogging business, I guess you could say, where we were creating storylines for players who are coming here. And we also have the connection to do so based off of my spot in this team house. So moving away from Alex, we started our team house with Base Trade TV, and me and Sasha and everybody involved in it really kind of put our abilities together to get this house that I'm sitting in right now. And it's been an amazing experience. I mean, I've been really proud to be a part of this project, and it's given so many players the opportunities that I wanted before I met Huck, but never had the ability to do. And I'm really just happy to be a part of it, and it's really something I'm grateful to be a part of. And setting this up and managing it and being a part of it is definitely something I want to continue to do. But I really like the vlogs because it really gives a story behind the players that are living here, behind the players that come to Korea, and it gives the viewers more of an idea of what is going on in players' minds and in players' day-to-day life that they don't actually have the opportunity to see every time. That really kind of moved me into a different future where I started to go away from pro gaming. And I still practice a lot and I still love playing. I still like being a pro gamer. Like, I have the title still, kinda. You know what I mean? Like, I still play in the WCSNA stuff. I don't win anything, but that's okay. I like playing, I like competing, I like being top of the ladder. That's good enough for me. But what I really want to do is document the achievements of the others that have worked so hard, like me. The other players who work every day, all day. And because I am in this position where I'm the manager of the Base Trade TV house, I have access to everyone who comes as a foreigner to Korea. And it really gives us a unique position where we have the connections to document it. And it's something I want to do. I want to distribute this to the viewers. I want to show everyone the effort and the storylines behind qualifying. I don't want you guys to just see, oh guys, look, Major qualified for a tournament. Major qualified for the GSL, you know? Because I think a lot of viewers and a lot of people misunderstand how much those players work, how much they put into this game. They wake up and when they sleep, when they're dreaming, they think of StarCraft, you know, that's how much they play this game. And I really wanted to give effort to it. It really started with Alex. I mean, I think if it wasn't for the Alex vlogs, I don't think I would have ever switched. But I was really proud to be a part of it. I was really proud to be a part of the history Alex created in his own efforts to be so, I don't know, I guess achieved. Like, he really achieved what he was setting out to be, you know? One of the best foreigners in the world. And there was a sense of pride in me, and I really wanted to keep doing it, keep vlogging. And as we moved into this team house, I had access to all these players, and I have a really talented filmmaker, camera guy. So I have all these tools to do this, and I can also put my own personality flair into it. And that's kind of where we are now. I mean, if you see around us, we're in a team house full of camera or computer equipment. And it's really moved me to follow individual stories of players and my life in Korea as well. So moving forward after what we've been able to accomplish, I want to accomplish more. And I don't necessarily want to limit it to Korea either. I'm really grateful that we have these connections and this accomplishment in allowing foreigners to stay in Korea. And fortunately, they've been nice enough to allow me to film them as well. I want to move forward and continue to document StarCraft players. I think one of the things StarCraft really lacks is storylines. If you look back in StarCraft's success, there were many storylines. Like, you see Idra and Huck, and there was just a lot more Naniwa and like everyone, because Naniwa had some grudge against everybody. But there were just a lot more stories that were documented. And I guess they were more documented in gameplay, but I feel a lot of storylines are kind of forged nowadays, and a lot of people are not really saying what they mean. But with these vlogs, you're kind of following their life. You get a sense of storyline regardless of if it's forged or not. It's always there because it's their life and there's nothing forged about their life. So my goal is, I guess, to document as much as I can for my future and for the future of every player. I hope we can do their practice justice, and I hope that we can contribute something to StarCraft, even if I'm not going to be rich and I'm not going to have all this money and all these objects, but I don't care, you know. It's what I love to do. I love to talk and be a part of my community. And I'm so grateful to have you guys and to have the connections I've had in my life with esports and even like people watching my stream and following. It's different than I ever expected when I was in high school, when I was a Platinum League player. It's very different. And I want to thank you guys. I'm sorry. It's been a very long ride in my career from the beginning to now. And I'm very privileged to be here in Korea with all these talented people like Alex and Major and Scarlet and Sort of and Drogo, Cloudy and Time. Like, I'm just very privileged to have these opportunities. And I want to do what is right for them and what is right for StarCraft, to showcase their play as much as possible and to be a part of this community that's given so much to me. And I'm not asking for a lot. I really, anything monetarily helps. I don't have that much money as a person. And if I did, I would put it into StarCraft 100%. But the money on this Patreon is going towards the community. I'm putting it all towards doing this for StarCraft and doing this for the players, because I don't have the money to do it myself. It's really something I have trouble asking for, because I'm not 100% on taking money, but at the same time, I can't do it without you guys. I've been doing it for me and my camera guy. By the way, I have to talk about him. He hasn't accepted any money from me whatsoever. I have not given him a single dollar. And he puts in as much, if not more, into these vlogs as I do. It's about us being able to deliver the message we want to deliver to you guys. And all the money received on this Patreon is going towards the production and towards the things that we want to do, but we can't because we don't have the monetary backing. And we appreciate everything you guys are able to support us for. And if you guys only give us $20 a month, we will put it towards graphics cards or memory cards. It doesn't matter, you know. Anything helps. We're okay with that.
Stay out super late tonight, picking apples, making pies, put a little something in our lemonade.
Yeah, like this.